really took Shoaib Akhtar apart.
Yeah, but this
It was
time
his
Dhoni is going to
birthday.
be the keeper, not Akmal. Is Rohit Sharma susceptible against left arm? Let us
Yes.
know.
Yeah.
Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. Some match apparently that happened in '99, which Shane Warne was very good at. But hello and welcome to a new episode of Silly Point. Today we've got Uzaib and Gaurav here. As you know, we discussed in our second episode the India-Pakistan Combined 11, which you can check out here. And today we're going to discuss what team we think is good enough to face them from the rest of the world. So a rest of the world 11 in the modern era, so post 99, which can take on our combined India-Pakistan 11. And we're going to do things a little differently. So rather than each of us going through our 11s, so we've got a pool of different players for each of the positions. So we'll go through that, have a quick discussion, and let's see who makes the cut. We just have one criteria in our team, which is we're going to pick a maximum of 3 players from each country. So you can't have 4 or 5. Otherwise, you can have a team of probably 7 Australians who have been pretty dominant in that era, especially if you take India out. So let's start. So let's start with in batting order. Let's start with the openers. So our openers, we've got to pick 2 out of Hayden, Warner, Gilchrist, Hashim Amla, Johnny Bairstow, Martin Guptill, Sanat Jayasuriya, and Graham Smith. Uzi, do you want to start off with
yes. So for me, like obviously, all of these are very good players. तो बड़ा मुश्किल है इसमें से who would you pick as your top 2? But for me, like I would go for, because we are picking the best in the last 20 years. So when I look at the names, I see who are the biggest match winners over here. So the first one which comes to my mind is Matthew Hayden. Like मतलब the guy had character. मतलब वो फील्ड पे जब निकलता था बैटिंग करने के लिए तो बॉलर्स वैसे ही उनकी फट जाती थी. Like 6 foot stature, biceps. मतलब बैट्समैन की एक दहशत जो होती है वही वो एक अलग चीज होती है. Plus he won like 3 World Cups in a row for Australia. So a great match winner. मतलब very dominant opening batsman. So Matthew Hayden, probably a no-brainer for me. Obviously Warner, Bairstow, Guptill, all of them are very good. But for me, just because he's such a big match winner और उसकी मतलब history एक है, Matthew Hayden is probably the first choice for me. Or second, I think it's quite close. There are quite a few good names there. For me, probably Smith, Amla, Gilchrist are probably on par. But again, I have to be careful. We have to have maximum of 3 from each country. So I can't again go for Gilchrist here. So just on those bases, personally, I would go for Hashim Amla as my second opener. Because for me, since I've been watching cricket in the last 10 to 12 years, I think he's been the most consistent ODI batsman. He averages 50 in ODI cricket, which I think as an opener is unheard of. He's probably on par with Rohit Sharma. Is probably the top ODI batsman in the last decade. Very consistent. I think he's been the quickest to 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 runs. Yeah. So on par with Virat Kohli. So I would just on those bases, I will probably go with Amla and Hayden as my 2 openers.
I think I completely agree. Bairstow, Guptill, Jayasuriya, I think the 3 of them, they score very quickly. But I think realistically, them playing facing up to the likes of Wasim and Waqar, I think they'll struggle a little. So I think Amla and Hayden would be a really good match for Wasim and Waqar.
Hayden for me, definitely, 100%. I'm a bit torn between Amla and Warner, to be honest, because I think Gilchrist, yes, but I think we have other keeping options, which we'll come back to later on. So I think it's really Amla and Warner. And I guess, for the fact that obviously, we probably might need a few Australians later down. We can go with Amla to start off with. And I think this probably was the easiest debate of all of them. So let's move on to let's just focus on number 3 for now. So number 3, we need to pick 1 out of Sangakkara, Ponting, Root, Williamson, Steve Smith, and Jack Callis. I mean, again, there are probably many more, which you can discuss. But I think out of that lot, I think this is probably the cream. So again, 1 pick each, guys.
I can start. So basically, again, for me, very competitive pool. So we've got, for me, like top two here would be probably Ponting. He has to be there. Probably the best number three to play ODI cricket since I've been watching, along with Sangakkara and probably Jack Callis. It's very difficult to make a pick here, but I would probably go with Sangakkara. He's just a gentleman, one of my most favorite cricketers to watch. Pure gentleman, and also obviously adds that wicket keeping ability. We haven't picked Gilchrist there, so for me, along with Dhoni, he's probably the best ODI wicketkeeper in the history of the game. You can obviously select him purely on his batting skills. I think he's the second highest or second most number of ODI runs after Sachin Tendulkar. So that speaks for himself, his batting ability. And also because we already have an Australian and a South African as openers. So just on those bases, I would probably park Jack Callis and have a bit of a variety in the team with Sangakkara at number 3.
I mean, I tend to, I'll agree with that. Again, Ponting, great batsman. Williamson as well, Root. I mean, all these guys are great. But again, looking at the bowling attack that we've got, you know, I've always thought that Wasim is the greatest left-arm bowler ever to play cricket. You know, looking at that, I'd be inclined to pick between Sangakkara and Ponting. And I think given our, you know, 3-player limit, I feel that we can use the Aussies more maybe in the bowling attack. So I would say Sangakkara.
Again, this is turning into a very friendly debate. But
I think 4, 5, and 6 would probably, you know, be more heated. I think these are relatively straight.
Yeah, I think Ponting versus Sangakkara. I mean, let us know, you guys. What do you think? I mean, it's a very good debate. I think, you know, again with the restrictions that we have, I think Sangakkara probably does shade it. Also, I mean, he is a class batsman. Ponting destructive on his day. I'm sure G remembers the 2003 World Cup final. But yeah, I think let's lock in Sangha for now. So 4, 5, and 6. So let's take them as a bunch. And I think, you know, it's a mix of batsmen and batting all rounders, you know, so to speak. So maybe we go with 2 pure batsmen and one batting all rounder. And I'm sure that there's one name which we probably don't even need to discuss, will be a definite shoe-in, or maybe 2 actually. So we've got Ross Taylor, AB de Villiers, Shakib Al Hasan, Michael Hussey, Michael Bevan, Ben Stokes, and G's Angelo Matthews. So I think AB de Villiers is a definite shoe-in. We can discuss whether we have him at 4 or 5, but let's not spend too much time on him, Mr. 360 himself.
Yeah.
So that's one. That's one done. So out of the other 2, and if I can just start, so I think for me it's got to be Ross Taylor 4, AB de Villiers 5, and I'll go with Shakib at 6, because Shakib gives you a spin bowling option, and also gives, you know, he is probably, you know, the best. Even if you look at his stats, he's probably been, you know, the best spin bowling all rounder of all time. Including that list includes Shahid Afridi also. But he's a proper batsman, you know. Or, you know, you can argue whether actually number 6 is too low for him, but that's probably where he's played the majority of his career, although he's recently moved up the order. But looking at our batting lineup, you know, he can play aggressive when he wants to. And Ross Taylor, obviously, you know, probably, you know, as we've discussed previously, and you can check out here, the most underrated batsman in the modern era. He has fantastic stats, you know, great average, great strike rate. So for me, it's Ross Taylor definitely wins it.
Should I go next?
Yeah.
I think for me, in terms of the team balance, I think I'd like to have 2 all-rounders in there, 2 batting all-rounders. So I would go with Shakib and Stokes. It will be good to have some left-handers in there. So that's why, you know, I'm going to say Stokes over Taylor. Still, Taylor's a brilliant batsman, but again, I feel like, you know, I know he's played against the likes of Ajmal. He's probably played against Akhtar as well. Obviously, everyone remembers the 2011 World Cup where Ross Taylor really took Shoaib Akhtar apart.
Yeah, but this time Dhoni is going to be the keeper, not Akmal.
Sorry, yes, of course. But I'm going with Stokes. Again, Stokes is one of those bowlers who, you know, he can change the game in you know, he needs one good ball. He's that aggressive kind of bowler that can make things happen out of nowhere. So that's why my options are, you know, AB at 4, Stokes at 5, and Shakib at 6.
Cool. So I would take a pick now. Firstly, guys, I'm surprised Brian Lara didn't make this list. Like he's
Yes, that's
probably one of
true.
my all-time
Yes.
favorites. Just a treat to
Yeah,
watch, but I think it's very competitive. But I would still have preferred to have him at least on the short list.
he will
But
be.
He will
yeah,
be. We'll put him on the
We'll
list.
okay,
post edit. We'll add him.
but yeah, one thing I would agree with you guys on is AB de Villiers has to be there. So he's my number
Yeah,
4.
yeah,
Pure match winner. I think along with Virat Kohli is probably the biggest match winner out there who can win games single-handedly. If he gets going, there's no way to stop him. So yeah, he's definitely there. Um, but obviously because we are picking the World 11, so for me, like what is important is we need to pick the best player at each position. And based on that, I would like to see number 4 to AB de Villiers. Number 5, I'm keeping open. There are 2 or 3 different options. But number 6 for me is Michael Bevan. He's probably the best number 6 ever in the game of cricket, averaging 53 back in the 90s, early 2000s when like no one averaged even close to 50. So like if like you're chasing a target and Michael Bevan is there, he would win you games. The best batsman at number 6. So I will pick Michael Bevan just because he is the best batsman in that position. For number 5, again, I would prefer to have an all-rounder who can bat. And again, a match winner. For me, a very close call between Shakib and Ben Stokes. I would go with Ben Stokes just because the way he won the World Cup, you have to give him credit for that. Like he performs under pressure, and obviously he's improved drastically in last 2 to 3 years. So the way I'm looking at it is his kind of curve is going up. He's a very strong, mentally strong player, and I think you need a player like that at number 5. And again, he's one of those
Mentally
players
and physically strong as the guy at the
yeah,
bar
exactly.
found out.
And like he's one of those players, one of those all-rounders who can win you games both with the bat, with the ball. You can't say that about many all-rounders apart from Shahid Afridi and Ben Stokes there.
We're talking about match winners, not match losers.
Most number of man of the matches of Pakistan. There's only one there, Shahid Afridi. Anyway, so my middle order would be 4 AB de Villiers, number 5 Ben Stokes, number 6 Michael Bevan.
So we don't have so number 4 AB de Villiers confirmed.
Confirmed.
5 and 6 is a question mark. Maybe if we move on to number 7, then we can come back and see check the balance of the team as well.
Okay. Yeah, I think that probably makes sense. I think the Stokes argument might be negated by number 7, but let's go to 7. So 7 is interesting, right? So you either have a keeper batsman, and I think in the modern era there's probably only been one in recent time, which is Joss Butler, who is probably good enough to make the list. I mean, you can mention the likes of Andy Flower and stuff, but I think they were more top order batsmen. And then you have 3 fast bowling all-rounders. I mean, you got Freddie Flintoff, obviously, Chris Gaines from New Zealand, and Heath Streak, a wild card option, who also makes
representation.
makes the list. And out of these, if you had to pick one, I mean, for me, it's either between Flintoff or Chris Gaines. And I'd go with Flintoff just because of his big hitting ability. And he was just slightly more consistent. And if you look at Flintoff's stats, they're pretty good. Great average, good strike rate, and lethal bowler. He can reverse swing, so very very crucial in the middle overs. So yeah, for me it's Flintoff at 7.
I would tend to agree with that. So again, because we already have Sangakkara in the team, who's obviously a wicket-keeper batsman, and AB de Villiers, who's your backup keeper, you can say. So you probably don't have space for Butler there. Number 7, I would need someone who can bowl, and obviously a pinch hitter. So I need someone who can come in the last 5-7 overs, give you some quick runs. So Flintoff for me ticks those boxes. So yeah, Flintoff is number 7.
I mean, if we're going to go down the route of only having either Shakib or Stokes bat in the top 6, then I think Flintoff is a no-brainer for me as well. But if we go down the route of picking both Stokes and Shakib, which means we've got 2 bowlers, 2 all-rounders, then I think Butler's the better option, because out of all the names you mentioned there, he's got the best record at 7, and he's more consistent. He is more consistent than Flintoff was. I think regularly you can count on Butler to do well. I know he struggled at times when the pressure's on, but I still
think he's got a very short sample, right? I think he's just been playing regularly for like last 12 to 18 months.
142 matches. So
yeah, his average is 40 plus, right? So he's pretty good.
And his his strike rate is 120.
I think that's the one thing about Butler. मतलब यार अगर तुम्हें आखिरी 10 ओवर में 120 रन भी चाहिए हो and you have Butler, तो वो कर सकता है. And it doesn't matter वो शोएब अख्तर को भी बैठ के laps भी मार के उठा के मार देगा. He's that. So I think having that X factor, daring.
You need that against a team that has got Wasim and Sachin and Virat and Rohit. So I think
we'll probably have to have a good debate. So it's either going to be Flintoff and Butler, and then Stokes, because I think it doesn't make sense to have both Flintoff and Stokes, because they're both fast bowling all-rounders.
Yeah.
So, but if you go with one of them, then I think there's space for Butler.
Yeah.
So maybe I guess the debate is more Flintoff versus Stokes, and if we go with Stokes, then probably Butler is the better option.
Yeah. I mean that is where I'm thinking about is Butler can chase those.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Butler's record, so it is quite. I didn't know he was that good. So yeah, I'm kind of in two minds now. So yeah, if we kind of add maybe drop Michael Bevan.
So I think let's. So they conclude about Butler at 7, and then
6 we can have Ben Stokes.
And then coming back to the 5 and 6, so we can have Stokes at 6. I think Stokes probably makes sense.
I think Stokes is. Let's agree that Stokes is better than Flintoff. So
yeah, definitely. Stokes at 6. Stokes at 6.
Any England fans out there? Let us know what you think. Stokes versus Flintoff.
So number 5. Who's number 5 then? It's Taylor versus Shakib.
Taylor versus Shakib. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I love Ross Taylor, right? But again, if we are picking Stokes at 6, right, then he can't be counted upon to bowl his full quota of 10 overs. You know what I mean? He's that kind of bowler who can give you 5-6, 5-6 good overs. And then so that's why I felt this team had a better balance with Shakib in there at 5, or Stokes at 5 and Shakib at 6.
So yeah, you need like a 6 bowling option, right? You can't just be dependent on. Yeah, that's true. So Shakib at 5 is fine.
I'm beginning to think that this team that we've picked, World 11, might be equal or maybe slightly stronger than our combined India-Pakistan team. What do you think?
Let's end it. We can do a man-for-man comparison at the end. Maybe we can do that for the last 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So I think in the bowlers, I guess we have to be a bit flexible with the batting order, and we'll see. So I think we want to go with a mix of one spinner because we have Shakib already. We have one spinner and then 3 pace bowlers. So you'll have Stokes as if he can bowl, if he's fit enough to bowl, and then we'll have 3 proper fast bowlers. So let's get the spinner debate out of the way, and I think it's going to come down to the old age debate of all time. Murli versus Warne. I mean, we've got Vittori, Swan, Rashid Khan in there, but we can probably put them in as honorable mentions. And please do let us know in your comments. What is your opinion of probably the biggest debate in cricket history? Is it Murli? Is it Warne? If I had to pick in ODIs, I would go with Murli. At least in one days. I mean, he's the highest wicket taker.
I agree. I mean, Murli, he can turn the ball on glass. Any wicket you give him, the guy can spin the ball. And again, looking at the opposition team, guys like Yuvraj, Jadeja, I think they'll really struggle against Murli. Maybe MS has a bit of an edge over Murli. But again, they played against each other when Murli was towards the end of his career. But yeah, I think Murli would have more of an impact than Warne against the team. And I think overall in ODIs, he certainly has had, he's been the player that has had more impact for me.
So I would actually kind of disagree with you guys. I think Murli is probably the better spinner in ODIs. In Test cricket, I would probably have Warne ahead, but it's very marginal, right? But I think the Pakistani and in general subcontinent batsmen, they struggled more against Warne. So just to have a bit of a variety in the team, and given I think Pakistani batsmen in general, and I think Indians the same, they probably played Murali more frequently and they were better against him. And obviously the players in Australia and England, they really struggled against him. But Shane Warne used to demolish Pakistanis. We really struggled against him. So, I'm just looking at the horses for courses kind of thing, because we have Pakistani Indian batsmen who we are targeting. based on that, I will probably have Warne ahead of
Yeah, I think the Indians are still slightly better at playing Warne. I think Pakistan were the whole team.
We generally struggled against Australia.
There was some match apparently that happened in '99, which Shane Warne was very good at. But
you can like I mentioned in my sledges video, you can see how Warne got his confidence in that World Cup. It was all because of Daryl Cullen.
Yeah, so he just gives me nightmares. So just because I would like, he's really threatening.
But I think it'd be good to have Murali. You know, you can have Ajmal and Murali with who's got the better action.
To be honest with you, I'm okay either way. But maybe if we move on to the Pacers, because I feel like we can have two. We can have two Australian Pacers. So then that will fulfill our quota. So that's why I feel like, you know, when we move on to the Pacers, we'll talk about it. We can come back to the spinners based on quota.
Okay, yeah, sure. Let's see. It is one Murali. Let's come back to that.
Yeah.
So moving into the Pacers, so we've got, again, you know, this is a short list. We may have missed some big names out, but you know, this is what we felt was the best. So McGrath, Brett Lee, Lasith Malinga, Sean Pollock, Shane Bond, Trent Bolt, Curtly Ambrose, Alan Donald, Mitchell Stark, and Dale Steyn. So a very long list. But let's go with three of these, I guess. G, do you want to start?
Sure. I've thought a lot about it. I think all of them are great bowlers, but I think McGrath, Pollock, and Mitchell Stark stand out for me. So those, I would go with those three.
Mitchell Stark, your personal favorite, just like
Mitchell Stark is. Yeah, Mitchell Stark is.
Oh yeah, Mitchell Stark over Pollock, Donald.
No, I'm saying pick Pollock. I said over Donald, yes, but I'm saying definitely pick Pollock because I feel like Pollock played in, you know, he kind of saddled two eras. He saddled the era where, you know, bowling, bowling kind of good length deliveries in ODIs was considered okay. And then we moved on to another era where you needed some variations like slower balls and Yorkers. And Pollock played in that era as well. So I feel like Pollock, you know, for me, Pollock is that.
And he's probably the best batsman of all these players. In case you needed, you know, someone at number 8.
Much an all-rounder, right?
Yeah.
True. So I'd say Pollock. McGrath, I think, is a no-brainer. I'm hoping that you guys will pick him as well. And I think Stark, again, down to the fact that, you know, it'll be good to have a left arm swing bowler, you know, especially for guys like Rohit and Kohli who you know, can struggle early on against left
because
arm.
Amir can't play in this team now, so we'll need to have someone else.
Amir can't, so I would go with Stark. I mean, Bolt is great as well, but for me, Stark is better than Bolt. I think, like we discussed in our top 5 ODI bowlers, Stark is the best ODI bowler currently.
You want to go next? You can go next.
Okay, so for me, actually, McGrath is not in my team, and I'll come back to why. Sorry for the hate, but I've got Pollock for sure. You know, he's, you know, an amazing bowler, like G mentioned. You know, probably one of the most accurate bowlers of his time. You know, good bat as well at the end. So Pollock for sure. Then I've got Shane Bond and Curtly Ambrose. And I'll have to look. You have to look at the combination, really. I mean, you've got Pollock, who's accurate. You know, he's the same as McGrath. And I think that's my argument for not having McGrath, because Pollock and McGrath will give you the same thing. They'll give you 10 overs, 2 for 40 all the time. You know, so, or maybe if obviously if the conditions suit them, they can rip through any batting order. But that's their job in the team. You know, they'll keep it accurate, keep the runs down. Shane Bond, he is that express pace. I know he didn't play enough games, injury issues, you know, and everything. But then in the other team, we've got Shoaib Akhtar, who had exactly the same problems. And I think Shane Bond, you ask anybody, you know, at that time, he was the best on his day. So I think I've got Shane Bond. His stats are pretty amazing. I think his average is 20 or just slightly under 20. And then Curtly Ambrose, because he gives you something different. So he's got that tall bounce. Again, very accurate. You know, he's the type of bowler who can, you know, bowl 10 overs and concede 8 runs with 6 maidens. So you have a good variety of everything. You've got sheer pace, you've got you know, accuracy, and you've got a good, you know, hard, fast, bouncy type of bowler. So you've got a good variety. I think the only thing that is lacking in this is the left arm option, but I think with that team you can still manage.
Yeah. Interesting pick. So I would probably have a mix of both what Gaurav and Zahid have picked. Probably like my first out of all, when I looked at the list of bowlers, obviously all of them are great. But for me, my probably the most lethal of these for me was Alan Donald, like express pace. And again, I remember Pakistan playing South Africa in early 2000s, late 90s, and we probably never beat them. Like literally, like I never remember Pakistan beating South Africa in ODIs in early 2000s, and with the team with Wasim Akram and all. Like maybe one or two games to Kalagyo, but Alan Donald was express pace, and I'm just looking at his average, and it's actually better than Wasim, McGraw, any of the other fast bowlers in top 10, top 20 list. So I will probably have Alan Donald definitely there in my bowling list. Again, you obviously have Sean Pollard from South Africa, who overall as a player is probably more value to the team just because he brings that batting obviously additional batting skills. But we already have a strong batting lineup. We have like good all rounders up until number 7. So I don't really think we need another batting all rounder. So just as a pure fast bowling option, Alan Donald is definitely there for my team. After that, I would go for Glenn McGraw. Again, very consistent, highest wicket taker for Australia. And yeah, he's one of those bowlers like who will definitely be on target every day. So Glenn McGraw, Mr. Consistent, bowls in the right areas again, and he used to terrorize Pakistanis and Indians alike. So yeah, Glenn McGraw is my number 10, and at number 11 I would have Curtly Ambrose, tall, lanky bowler again, one of the classic West Indian fast bowlers, and because it's World 11, we need to have a West Indian representation. We already don't have Brian Lara in the middle order, so we definitely need Curtly Ambrose.
Or Chris Gayle in the top order, which we also missed out. But
yeah, Chris Gayle I probably won't have. T20s definitely not for ODIs. Yeah, we can debate that another day. But yeah, Curtly Ambrose at number 11. Again, one of the great West Indians, very consistent. And if it's his day, like he can demolish teams again on his own. So you don't want to like rub the guy the wrong way. So
I think it's I think. Yeah, I think that the Donald versus Pollack is an interesting one, right? Because you can't have both. We have Anglo and AB, so we can only have one more South African.
So basically, because we are looking at bowlers now, I would say, who's the better bowler? For me, definitely Donald. Who's the better player overall? Probably Pollack. So on those bases, you need the best guy in that position, and I will probably have Donald over Pollack as a pure bowler.
To be honest with you, I'm happy with going for Donald over Pollock. I agree that, at this point at number 8, 9, we don't necessarily need someone, to bat.
The option, I guess, then you're left with McGrath, Ambrose,
Bond,
Stark, and Bond, right?
Yeah,
so I mean, 2 of those.
Can I just say one thing about Curtly Ambrose?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know that, he's attacking, he can bowl a mean bouncer, he bowl Yorkers as well. But the one thing that really surprises me about his career records is that his strike rate is 41 and a half. For a fast bowler like him, I would imagine his strike rate to be much better. Like the likes of McGrath, Malinga, Murli, Warne, all of them have strike rates much lower, like around 30. So they take a wicket every 30 balls. And I think the reason for that is that Curtly Ambrose didn't take too many wickets per match.
Mm-hmm.
So I think,
but his economy is super low. It's like less than 3.5. So that's why, because he used... exactly. So he didn't take wickets, but he didn't go for runs also.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and his average is really good also, which means he used to take wickets. It's not like his average is like
24 average and 3.4 economy, which is probably the lowest. I'm looking at the list right now. He's probably the lowest economy in the top 25.
यार 10 ओवर में 7 रन 10 ओवर में 5 रन वाले ये कौन करता है यार literally unrealistic standards होते थे उसके.
He's in that sense he's similar to McGrath. McGrath has a economy of 3.87, which is not too different from Ambrose, but McGrath's overall record, his wicket taking ability is better. So then if we had to look at types of bowlers, if we had to group what we had left among types of bowlers, and Ambrose together and Bond and Stark together, right? So between McGrath and Ambrose, I would go with McGrath. I don't know if you guys agree with me based on what I've just said.
Yeah, I would pick McGrath over Ambrose if that's the choice you have to make.
Come on, yaar, Ambrose, yaar, McGrath to कहीं भी आ जाएगा यार.
For both of them, like I have a feeling that why can't we have both of them? Because for me, both of them.
But then, I think then it becomes a very similar type of attack. I mean, again, both of them. What's the point of keeping Tendulkar and Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli to 3.5 runs and over at the beginning, and Murli or Warne are getting hammered right at the end because they haven't been able to get them out. You know what I mean?
That's
So
true.
I think you need more attacking options in the bowling. So that's why I would say we pick one between Ambrose and McGrath, and then one of, because Donald is attacking.
Yeah.
Right? We get one.
Maybe we do the other debate first. But let's finish off. I think Bond versus Stark. If you look at the balance of the team, we'll probably need a left armer. Is Rohit Sharma susceptible against left arm? Let us know. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't.
I think any right-hander is susceptible to a left armer who can swing the ball in. Right? Amir, like I've said in one of the previous videos, Amir has struggled with that recently. But Trent Bolt, for example, he does that. Stark does that. They pitch the ball up and they get the ball to come into the right-hander.
And not that it's relevant, but Stark can obviously be that half decent batsman number 8. So I think Mitchell Stark probably gets it. Shane Warne, bad luck, again misses out.
Yeah. Of the early 2000s, one of my favorite bowlers. I mean, I remember one ball he bowled to Jayasurya. The ball pitched 2 stumps outside leg stump, right? And swung in, and Jayasurya got bowled. I think his middle stump went cutting. So, I mean,
he could do amazing things, but I guess injury issues probably didn't get the recognition that he deserved.
I agree.
So we're back to the last one.
We got 2 now. This is Ambrose versus McGrath, and then it is Shane Warne versus Murli, right? So
let's just say if we pick McGrath, then we can't pick Warne, right?
Yeah. So I think for me it's Warne and Ambrose. That's the combination I'm going for.
Fine. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Because, I mean, I do agree that Warne was slightly more attacking than Murli. So I'm okay with, picking Warne and picking Ambrose instead of McGrath. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine. I think, I think having Curtly Ambrose in there, I think that I can give up Murli. I can give up Murli.
देख के परेशान 6 फुट 7 इंच का बोला आ रहा है तो वैसे ही
कोई उसको
मोहम्मद इरफान खड़ा कर दो तुम
कोई उसको परेशान करे तो जैसे उसने डीन जोन्स को तंग किया था एक मैच
don't wear a white wristband
don't say anything against the wristband all these
so final 11 is Matthew Hayden, Hashim Amla, Kumar Sangakkara, AB de Villiers, Shakib, Ben Stokes, Joss Butler, and now he can be the keeper. So we have 2 backup keepers in Sangha and Sangha and AB. Mitchell Stark at 8, or Shane Warne at 8, Mitchell Stark at 9, and then Alan Donald and Curtly Ambrose.
I think that's a great team.
That's a great team. Who do you think is going to win against?
We've done our jobs, right? We've done our jobs. We've given you 2 teams. It's for the fans and our audience to, say to.
Maybe we can ask like a petition to be signed for these players to sign up for a match. A charity game. Charity game.
No, and I had one question. Who do you think will captain this team?
That's
a good. I think. Well, there aren't any
standout options. I think.
Standout options, right?
Sangha or maybe AB. Probably AB de Villiers, one of the 2, right?
Yeah, one of the 2. But again, I think both of them have been. I mean, unfortunately, they haven't won any major tournaments. Actually, Sangakkara has won the 2014 T20 World Cup.
But he's played in 2 World Cup finals, right? Back-to-back World Cup finals.
Yeah, so Sangakkara. Even in the 2014 T20 World Cup, he was the captain. But because of slow over rates, he didn't captain the final. Jayawardene captained the final.
No, that was it. Wasn't there? They did some tactical decision where he didn't come out for the toss.
Yes.
So that he didn't get banned or something.
Something like that. So I think Sangakkara would be a good captain.
Yeah. Okay. So Kumar Sangakkara is the captain.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So that's our 11. Let us know what you think. I'm sure there must have been some, players that you would have wanted to see, but this is what we think is the best. Let us know, and please, like, subscribe to our channel, and give us feedback. What would you like to see next? We've got quite a few interesting ideas coming up, but do let us know what you'd like to see. And thanks for watching.
Thank you,
guys.